Hello everyone, and welcome to another royal reading here at MadWorldTarot. And you might hear the rain lashing down in the background. I've tried to shut windows and doors and keep the sound out, and also the odd rumble of thunder, which means that it's all very dramatic out there, as it has been very dramatic in the royal world. I have Fluffy hiding under the tarot table, and I think I have some celebrities hiding under the tarot table too. And not just celebrities, people who, the trolls, the people who piled on in a moment of tremendous vulnerability for someone who is going through an extremely difficult time. And you all know what I'm talking about. And yes, the terrible news was broken yesterday evening. Just as I uploaded my readings, I decided not to join the noise that was already out there and just sit quietly with the shocking news and digest it and process it. And so first of all, tremendous sympathy to the Wales family, and in particular the Princess of Wales and her husband and her children, and the royal family generally, and the people of the United Kingdom also, and anyone else who is affected by cancer. I certainly, in my family, very close family, am affected by it currently, and it's such a difficult thing to have to process. So I want to say that, and as I say, sympathy to any of you out there who might be affected at this time also by this dreadful disease. I've thought about what I should be reading on right now, and for me the most telling moment came with Kinsey Schofield, of all people, who burst into tears as she was on Talk TV. I think from her own shame, to a certain extent. That's me interpreting her emotions for her, my opinion, but also just generally about the state of the world that we are in, the state of humanity, that she now feels that she knows the worst about humanity, and that is because of the pile-on, the awful rumours that have been circulating for months, terrible rumours which we need not get into now, the gleeful jokes that somebody who was unable to defend herself became the punchline in a lot of very lame jokes, and in fact a punch bag for a lot of people, and still is 24 hours later, still is. The hatred is still out there. So over the rain and the shouting, and sorry about the shouting, I have the Apprentice Tarot on the tarot table, because the first reading I want to do about this situation, now that we know what we are really dealing with, is lessons from people like Omid Scobie and Shouty Shola and Blake Lively and Kim Kardashian and Stephen Colbert and Neil Oliver and even Piers Morgan, who piled on over the Photoshop thing. And the trolls who were very happy to perpetuate the terrible rumours, gleefully piling on. I want to know from universe, I'm going to do a Celtic cross, I want to know what this is all about. Because it seems that there is a war going on. A war, as the Five of Cups comes out. The war between good and evil, between light and dark. It's been one of those decisive moments in the world. There have been bigger ones, there have been more horrifying ones, world wars and things where atrocities have happened, recent events in the world where atrocities have happened. And they become fault lines in our psyche, in our consciousness, in us as a species, in humanity. And I want to know from universe what to think about this, about the people who really, I have to say, my opinion, chose the dark side. Are they going to learn lessons? Are there some have come out, chastened and apologised? Some have been very silent. Some are pointing the fingers at Kensington Palace and saying it's all the fault of Kensington Palace. Not their fault. Not their fault at all. So that's where we're heading. And over the rain. Not over the rainbow, unfortunately. And so Celtic cross coming out. Lessons for this scenario, for these kinds of people, for people who chose to participate in this ugliness, to believe it, to perpetuate it, to score points off it. Not naming names in the sense of royal family and royal adjacents. We'll get to those people in other readings in due course. I'm looking at the collective of celebrities and mere mortals, lesser mortals, who seemed to gain some pleasure out of this ugliness that was being perpetuated. So here we go. And of course, let me say, usual disclaimer, it's tarot for fun and entertainment, or my opinion, or speculation. And of course, just reading energy, and disclaimer in the box below. Our underlying energy as the rain pours down. 3 of Pentacles, which is teamwork, collaboration, as you can see. So it was a collective, a kind of a hive mind. And that's what this 3 of Pentacles is telling me. And that is, in these worst instances in the world and in our history, it is when this hive mind takes over and our own humanity, our own individuality gets lost in the crowd, the madness of the crowd. And when unspeakable deeds can happen, that people who would ordinarily be quite contained and quite compassionate and quite decent lose all humanity and all decency. And even though it's a rather innocuous looking little card, the 3 of Pentacles, and even though forwarding tweets, retweeting things and sharing and all the rest of it might seem quite innocuous, and making jokes on late night chat shows might seem quite innocuous, when it's collective, it has power of its own that can become tremendously dangerous, and it's very hard to stand as an individual against that collective energy. So that's a very interesting card to come up. And the next card, just by the way, is the Justice card in reverse, an injustice perpetuated by this hive mind. So the situation, we're reading from the point of view of universe right now. We have the High Priestess in reverse. So many things coming from that card. First of all, it is Catherine herself, the princess. She has become the High Priestess in these readings. She's elevated. She's become an enigma, mysterious. She's the divine feminine that disappeared at this moment of crisis, and that sparked this feeding frenzy amongst all these people who were gleefully speculating as to what could have happened to her. It's also about intuition, the High Priestess, and it's in reverse. So that's people who are not going on their own intuition and their own insights. They're listening to other people, people who might have an agenda, people who might be quite ill-intentioned, and they are listening to them. And I'm going to do a little pause because it is lashing down and you probably can't hear a word. Right, I've shut more doors and windows, not much better. So apologies for the sound effects, the special effects, but it feels important to just carry on with this. So that's the situation that we're dealing with, the High Priestess in reverse. The challenge for these people, or the lesson that is needed to be learned, and the 6 of Pentacles, an interesting card. Selfishness, being ungrateful, taking people for granted, taking more from a situation than is put in. It upright is the card of charity and equal give and take, reciprocity, doing good deeds, helping people, uplifting people, being kind to people. That, I would say, our High Priestess at the heart of this reading is known for. She's dedicated her life to service, that trigger word for the one in Montecito. We weren't going to bring her into this reading, but she's managed to sneak her way in anyway. And the card is in the reverse. So they are not giving. They are not being kind and generous and selfless and investing in helping other people and in serving. And so that is the challenge. That is the lesson for these people, is to actually become kinder and more compassionate and more charitable, and hold out their hands to people who are struggling, as the Princess of Wales very clearly was struggling and has been struggling for the past few months and even before the past few months. So what is at the root of this behavior, this selfishness, this ugliness, we have the Magician, which is the card of trickery and manifesting, and there are reasonable words, keywords here. All the resources you need, yes, all the talents, all the skills, but it's about manipulation, the Magician. It's about media. It's about things seeming to be one way when they're really quite different. And that is what the Magician is really about, and particularly when I do these royal readings. The Magician is one who manifests, who creates, who distorts reality into a different vision. And it tells me that these people, this crowd, this hive mind, and it has gone quiet at last, thankfully, this hive mind is being manipulated and exploited and set into motion quite deliberately behind the scenes, because here we have the hidden energy, what's beneath the surface, what's going on. These people who are not in touch with their own intuition and their own inner guidance and their higher selves, because the High Priestess is also about your soul and your higher aspect. Those people are able to be played by the Magician, by the media, the press, the puppet masters behind the scenes who like to pull the strings and make things happen. And this has, if you believe that we are energy and we are creating energy as I do, I believe that we are, our energy is fuel, let's say, for people who may not be in our reality. That sounds a bit off the wall, but yeah, I do believe that our energy is fuel, and that it's up to us to make sure that our fuel is of the right kind that only very high vibe beings can resonate with. That's my personal feelings, one of the reasons why I do these readings. The fuel is being fed to less than high vibe beings, shall we just say, especially with that High Priestess in reverse at the heart of this reading. And again, it's a bit like Sauron's eye. My attention is being drawn, interestingly, when I say that, to Montecito. How very interesting. But let's move on to the focus of these people now. Where are their minds now? Seven of Swords in reverse, that's exposure, getting caught. Secrets coming out, bad behavior coming out. Seven of Swords. Seven of Swords is all kinds of bad behavior. It's the thief card, it's deception, it's dishonesty, it's cowardice, running away from things, getting away with things. When the card is upright in reverse, being found out. They know that they have been caught out. These people, that list of names that I read are examples of such people. I'm not pointing fingers in an accusing way. I'm just saying that those were quite high profile people who piled on in the moment of extreme vulnerability. But of course, the keyboard warriors, hundreds, thousands, if not millions of them also, exposed, caught out, revealed. And of course, what is the time we are living in now except revelation? It's the veil being lifted and the truth being revealed. And we literally have it here with the Seven of Swords, the true nature of these people and their energy being revealed. So tell us about the past and the past behavior. From universe's point of view, we have the Four of Wands in reverse. That is the broken home, the disruption of a marriage, shaky foundation, really attacking the royal family, because the royal family is the Four of Wands, with all the ceremony and the pomp and circumstance and the castles and the balcony and waving at the crowds and all of that. Very much Four of Wands, but it's also a marriage card. It's a divine marriage, actually, the Four of Wands. It's because it has that 11-11 energy in it, as you can see from the card. And so really attacking a couple, trying to undermine a couple, trying to bring down a couple that represents something very profound. They might have their own problems, and in my own readings I have seen that they have had their own problems. Not surprising, given what is going on both within the home and the pressure that's coming at them from outside. And some of it very toxic and very dark, and very intentionally dark in my opinion. But they have been going all out to bring down the royal family and to bring down a marriage of two people who are ordinary mortals, but also are representative of something much higher, in my opinion. So what's going to happen next in this scenario with these people? Ten of Wands. That's an accountability card. The burden is going to get heavier and heavier. And we're here for lessons, as I have said quite often in this reading. And that lesson is going to be a heavy lesson, this burden. And I think particularly for some of the high profile people that have behaved less than sympathetically in this situation, shall we just say. Ten of Wands, burden, loneliness, burden getting heavier and heavier, and wishing that you could just give up and let it go and put it behind you, but you can't. It's going to be visible for some of these people, which is interesting because that is a very visible character there. There's a little castle, you might notice in the card, tiny little castle, same castle. It's interesting, it's telling me that some of these people might have their own troubles coming their way unexpectedly, that are going to take their minds off this situation that they have been trying to undermine, and might have to focus on their own difficulties in coming days. This is near future energy. How do they see themselves right now? We have the Seven of Swords in reverse already. Death. Wow. Wow. That's a bad ending card. They know. So there is extreme awareness in this reading with the Seven of Swords in reverse, the Ten of Wands, and the Death card. Change and endings and radical transformation. They know that things are ending. For some of them, it could be their popularity, their status could be ending. It might mean contracts come to an end, media contracts, things like that, brand endorsements. It could have extreme consequences for some of them with that Death card, endings and change and transformation. But it also means that they know they have to change. And it's root and branch change. It's not just a minor apology and, oh, sorry, I'll do better next time. It's not that kind of change. It's at some level they need to let go of their old selves and be reborn, quite literally. Pressure they're under. Got the Ten of Wands already. Two of Swords. Choices. Which way do they go? They know they've got to change with this Death card. But which path do they choose? The Two of Swords is about that transition place of being at a crossroads. It's difficult. Both paths that you have to take are difficult. It's going to be difficult for some of them to carry on the way they were, but the path that they might have to move down, for a lot of them, for instance, the flying monkeys, the old squaddies out there, who've made it their life's purpose to bring down this couple and this institution, are going to have to do some self-reflection and face some harsh truths about themselves, and whichever path they decide to go down is going to be very difficult for them, because the Two of Swords was always an uncomfortable energy to be in. And choose and choose wisely, but don't want to because it's going to be difficult and it's going to have consequences, and it's delayed action. The Two of Swords sitting in that energy of, I know I've got to move, but I really don't want to, because the way I'm used to being is comfortable still, but it's not comfortable because death has now arrived on the scene, metaphorically speaking. So hopes and fears. And we're reading, of course, from above, really. Two of Cups in reverse. That is a fallout and a separation. They're worried that this could cause the breaking up of partnerships. This is precisely what I've been talking about in this part of the reading. Whether it's a celebrity or just some keyboard warrior sitting in their pajamas on their bed with their cell phone or their laptop or whatever it is, they are worried that there's going to be fallout from this in terms of friendships, partnerships, business deals, there are going to be consequences. Well, they're worried that there are going to be consequences as a result of this. People might, as I said already, lose deals, lose friends, lose relationships, lose people around them. It's big energy that's coming through here, because this is a big moment in our collective experience, really. And I've been reading around on platforms where people chat, and some people have been expressing how this has been a moment where they have irrevocably lost friendships. And there it is, this Two of Cups. And I'm talking collectively here. I'm not just talking about the people who really chose the hate. It was wider, a wider spread is coming through in that card. That for everyone, this has really been a choice point, a turning point. Two of Swords and the Death card. Turning points for everyone. And it could really mean that people lose things and people and relationships and situations and deals and whatever, that communities that they loved and that they felt very comfortable in. So are lessons going to be learned? Is there going to be transformation, some sort of enlightenment? And we have the Lovers, which is very interesting, because it's about choices. It's not really about relationships. We've had fallings out here, Two of Cups, or the fear, the worry that there are going to be fallings out, but we're getting choices, and that's very high vibe choices with the Lovers card. I'm also getting that we might finally see an appearance, just by the way, because it's Gemini energy, the Lovers. So we're heading into late May, June. We have a wedding coming up, a high society wedding. We might do, timing wise, we might get a glimpse of the divine couple that they've been trying to undermine. The divine couple might finally emerge at that point, and I don't want to elevate them onto pedestals and sort of deify them, but I'm talking energy here, and I'm talking how people are manifesting and how they're vibrating, and so this is a higher aspect there. So that's just by the way, that has just come through by the way. And I did a reading recently about timing and how the Princess of Wales was going to do, and I did see that she was going to be pushing towards healing, and then there would be a setback which might take her through to around that time. So it confirms that. That's just an aside. This card really, for these people, for all of us as a collective, means that people are going to be choosing more wisely in future. They might actually realize consequences. There it is, written on the card, consequences. We're dealing with duality, of course. We're dealing with dark and light, of course. We have this divine being over this couple who are choosing to eat of the apple and all of that stuff. People are going to be raised up as a result of this, which is interesting for me as an energy reader and as someone who is trying my best to be on a spiritual path, as I'm sure you all are too. So that's some cause for optimism, that card that has shown up in the outcome position. It's also, just by the way, we have an old Gemini who's floating around in up there looking down, Prince Philip, of course, and for some reason he's given me kind of a wink, and so I'll leave you with that. Now I've got chills, and I'm feeling quite emotional, so I'll leave you with that thought and hop on to the next one.